And welcome back. As part of Youth Month and a day after June 16, we look at the legacy of that historic moment. And if pictures tell 1,000 words or untold stories, well, an iconic picture taken by photographer Sam Nzima showed Mbuyisa Makhubo carrying Hector Pieterson after Pieterson was shot during the Soweto Uprising in 1976. That memory still lives on. In 2013, claims emerged that a man, Victor Vinnetou, imprisoned in Canada for the previous 8 years on immigration charges, was in fact Mbuyisa, and genetic tests were then conducted to determine whether or not it was indeed Mbuyisa Makhubo. His family joins us now to tell us how that day has caused painful memories and anguish till today. We're joined now by Ntsiki, Gwen Makhubu, who is Mbuyisa Makhubu's sister, and his nephew, Sifiso Makhubo. A very good evening to you both. Thank you very much for speaking to us.
Thank you, Sifiso. Thank you for having us.
Sister Ntsiki, I was actually saying, and for me, when we talk about June 16, that particular photo, those two individuals, that is literally how we capture it in our minds. I'm just curious, you as his sister, when you see that picture, what kind of memories does it bring up for you? What life does it tell us of?
I'm going to be honest with you, that picture, because I walked the journey with him after June 16 until I purchased things when he left for Botswana. It used to really riddle me. So what I did was to close him out, like look at him like anybody looks at him, not like his sister, because it was too much. That's what I felt on June 16, I would never leave bed. It's just that now my mother is dead and somebody's going to represent the family, so I have to go. It's just, I don't know how to explain it. It's very hurtful. It was like my best friend.
So where were you on that day? What happened?
I was in town. We went shopping with my mom. But I had intentions of coming back earlier to join the group. But unfortunately, came back late. We came around 4-ish afternoon, and there was at Pevin Station, there was a kiosk that sold papers. So when we got to Mzimhlope from Canada, I said to my mother, yo, things are hot there, because we could see smoke all over. So when we got off the train, there was this kiosk we went and bought. It was the World at the time, I think. And there was Mbuyisa in a picture with that boy. And we just decided to go to home. As we were going down home, people were saying, that person who's dead there is Raul comes after Mbuyisa. And they're almost the same age with Hector Pieterson. So my mama said, just let me go to my house so that I can be able to absorb all this. So that's what happened. So we went to my mom's place. But I used to stay with her at my grandmother's.
So it's interesting you're saying as we're passing New Canada, I'm thinking, as I mentioned when I was reading in the introduction, and in 2013, then there's this report that he has been spotted in Canada. So that's why I say that pictures, it seems like it's got a life of its own. Tell us then how it felt for you years later, not knowing where he is. Then there's these reports that he's possibly in Canada.
At first, when it happened, I was in Cape Town. My eldest son was shot about 9 times, so I was looking after him. So I was there, and people were phoning from Soweto saying, hey, there's news, because I wasn't watching any news. And people would start saying, it's not him and it's him. For some time, I was pissed off, because you cannot see me one day and claim that you know me. You cannot see me one day and claim that it can't be me. You don't know me. For some time, I was just mad. But eventually, I got to read the papers, people called, and I saw that was whatever it was. So I just said, my aunt is in Canada. So she might be the first person to go and see if this is Mbuyisa or whatever.
So were then genetic tests done then?
Not yet. It was just that this guy came and said, I've seen somebody that looks like Mbuyisa.
And the reports have been that you last saw him as a family in 1979. Is that the correct date? And tell us what happened in between the last time you saw him and when you didn't see him anymore.
Mbuyisa left in August after the June 16 because his life was in danger. These people, the old system, wanted to finish him off. They said that Mbuyisa was taught by his father to pose when there are riots, because they discovered that my father was an NC person, and actually understand that he was a co-founder of the MK in exile. So they said he taught him what to do. was very miserable. He couldn't stay. He wasn't sleeping, wasn't eating, and he was scared to come home. So I said to him, look, come back home when you see that the cars have stopped, like maybe 9, 10-ish. And I prepared something here. Opposite our house, there was a box, and another one, so I prepared a bed for him in the other box. Kune fence mos. No baby, is away na ulale pagula box. Nazakata lama kayula. My wife is about in Funan, but I'm Funan in Angel, man, I'm told, Nang Rasel, because I'll be knowing that up. You're opposite. Ule fence and you know. He wasn't sleeping, he lost weight, he lost his sense of humor.
So then he went to Nigeria because there are photographs. So you sent me that of his sightings in Nigeria. Then what happened when he left?
He left through Botswana, and when he got there, he was staying in Gaborone, and the system followed him there. They realized that he was in trouble. Then they took him to Uchudi. When he was in Uchudi, they followed him again. They took him to Lobat, it's a farm, where they could see anybody coming through. So when he left for Nigeria, he was fetched by the military from Lobatse, the zonal military, from Lobatse, the farm, into the plane to Nigeria because his life was in danger.
And so this is where I bring you in to pick up the story, because we're talking about the secondary or intergenerational tragedy of the human rights violations that happened during apartheid that you're still feeling now as a family.
100%.
You still don't know where he is. You're still searching for him. But you're saying that the story needs to move. Tell me how you are doing that, looking at his legacy and still saying, we are still living this.
So I think I like taking the story from that point of view. It's been a hard pill to swallow for the family for the longest time. We are almost the new school or the younger generation of the Makhubu family trying to move the story forward, if you will. I'm a storyteller by profession. I work in media and in television. And it's almost a sacrilege on my part to be in the field that I'm in and to have certain resources that are at our disposal and not carry the story forward.
But how are you doing that? Because I'm trying to understand that, you know, it's interesting when we talk about liberation struggle heroes, he's known as that, but not really much is known about him, his life, his contribution.
100%. So we've decided as a family to not leave things to external forces, to rather take the story on our own and literally do exactly that, teach people about not only the story, which has been told over and over again, but to personalize it more and to tell the story of not just who Mbuyisa was, but by extension, his younger brother, his sister, and all of us by extension who are part of his legacy now. I mean, I have children of my own, and you know, when we speak about history, we speak about June 16 and what happened then. You know, there's always a stumbling block with not just me, but with many of my siblings as to, you know, what do we say to them in terms of the story. I can even see my kids asking me one day to say, but why didn't you do anything yourself to carry on from where our elders have tried, quite unsuccessfully up until now, but we all have been, you know, trying our best in any which way to kind of move the story forward.
And I'd like to talk about the personal impact on you, the younger generation, in just a moment. But Sis Ntsiki, so have you received any help in trying then to find out, is this really Mbuyisa? If so, how do we bring him back? How do we know, you know?
I started trying after the arts and culture said, in actual fact, they did something before and they stopped. So there was pressure that this thing has just been left in the league. So what happened is, what's the minister of arts and culture?
Nephew.
Yeah, he called me, he invited me into his office and said, Sis Ntsiki, we are confused here. We're having a lot of people coming in and are claiming to be Makhubu. So as SARS could send them. No, don't worry. These are all fakes. It's the people who came out of the cracks of the wall who don't know us, but now their surname is the same. They decide that they can have a claim. And I told them, I'm the only Makhubu left. Ran was still alive, but was very ill. I told him, anything you want, that is my family, you come to me. And so they continued after that.
And Umama died not knowing where Mbuyisa is.
No.
Does the family believe that there is a chance that it is indeed Mbuyisa Makhubo who is in Canada?
From the Mandy, when I sent us the picture where they were matching the forehead and everything else, to be honest, when it got there, then I said it could be him. You know why? Because it doesn't really look like him, but I saw 2 of my cousins who had cancer. But they just changed. When you land the park station, I couldn't recognize it. So that maybe he's suffering a gula, I'm mentally disturbed, maybe I'm changing the That's the thing that made me so good. If I would go, it was about right.
So we're running out of time, Sifiso. I want to take it back. You draw an interesting correlation between history and the responsibility of this current generation. So while you're still looking, what stories would you like to tell South Africa and the world about the effects, the impact of the victims of the apartheid era?
If I may, it's not even a quote. It's a line that my aunt used in you know, some of the interviews that she's done, and literally, my family, by extension, but particularly Aunt Ntsiki's family, has not celebrated Christmas literally since 1978, because since 1996, even worse, because space Mbuyisa is not there, and so every time, you know, whether it's a family tradition that was supposed to go on, that can't go on now because there's one of us still missing, it also affects us in a huge way. It's a sore that needs to kind of be mended. I was born in 1976 myself, so I almost feel like a carrier or a representative of what the youth should have been, or what the youth strives to be. And, you know, we're living in 2023 now, and it's June 16, and it's almost a forgotten thing or something that's celebrated on June 16. But for us as a family, it's a very painful scar. And if anything, our efforts now is literally to simplify it as much as possible, make it a personal story, and if we ourselves as a family go to Canada, it might not be him in terms of Vinnetou. However, I as a storyteller have broadened the scope to say it's not just Mbuyisa, it's many more families from that era that are still missing. I've got people reaching out to me, some have found their family members, some are still looking. So this is almost a beacon to say, you know, there are families like us.
Find and create healing. Thank 100%. You so much for your time. Sifiso Makhubo is the nephew, and Ntsiki Gwen Makhubu is the sister to Mbuyisa Makhubo. And we mentioned that iconic picture that is often how he's shown as he carries Hector Pieterson after he was shot during those 1976 June 16 riots. Reports saying that he could possibly be in Canada, and as Sifiso says, the pain continues for many families. We're going to leave it there for now.